Welcome back to AI Business English Daily. In the next 15 minutes, we'll unpack one important story from the world of AI, business, and technology and help you learn the English behind it.
Today we're talking about Micron and Anthropic, and the bigger question is, when AI systems sail, does memory stay a component business, or does it become part of the long-term infrastructure contract?
Right. And to, really figure that out, we are diving deep into Micron's June 2026 financial disclosures today.
Yeah, and their official press releases too. Plus, we'll bring in some analysis from Tom's Hardware to kind of corroborate what we're seeing and get the full picture here.
Because those sources reveal a massive shift. I mean, we are looking at a complete change in how AI is built.
It's wild. The business models of major tech companies are basically being rewritten overnight.
They really are. And to understand this new Anthropic partnership, well, you first have to grasp the sheer financial reality that Micron just dropped on the market.
Oh, the numbers are just staggering. So looking at their fiscal third quarter of 2026, their revenue hit a record of about $41.5 billion.
Wait, 41.5 billion? Just for one quarter?
Just for one quarter. That is up 346% year over year.
Wow. I mean, you just don't see numbers like that in traditional hardware.
No, you really don't. And if you look closer, data center revenue alone was over $25 billion for the quarter.
Which implies what, an annualized run rate of more than $100 billion?
Over $100 billion, yes, just from data centers. But the financial numbers are really only the symptom here.
Right. The underlying cause is technical.
Exactly. Micron stated very clearly in their prepared remarks that AI system performance is now strictly dependent on memory capacity and memory subsystem performance.
Okay, let's take a second to unpack that technical reality for our listeners because it's the core of this whole story.
Yeah, we need to understand the physics of it.
Right. So I want to try an analogy here. If the AI processor, the main computing chip, is the engine of a high-performance sports car, is MEMO the fuel line?
That is a great starting point, yeah.
Because, I mean, it doesn't matter how big or powerful the engine is if the fuel line is too narrow to deliver gas when you press the pedal, right? So memory is essentially the ultimate performance bottleneck.
Precisely. Let's modify that analogy a bit to really show the scale of the problem.
Okay, go for it.
Imagine you're building this massive V12 racing engine. That engine is your AI processor.
Right.
But instead of a normal fuel line, you are trying to suck fuel into that engine through a tiny plastic coffee straw.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That straw is the memory. The processor is incredibly fast, but the physical wire connecting it to the memory is basically a permanent traffic jam.
So the processor is just sitting there waiting for data.
Exactly. It spends most of its time just idling. And an idling processor still burns incredibly expensive electricity.
Which is obviously a huge problem for these AI companies.
Huge. This is what the industry calls the memory wall. In the past, hardware buyers treated memory like a standard commodity. You just bought whatever was cheapest on the open market.
Right, but because memory is now the primary performance bottleneck, it dictates how fast the entire multi-billion-dollar system can run.
Exactly. That bottleneck is why memory is shifting from a basic interchangeable commodity into a true strategic asset. You cannot build a frontier AI system without securing that fuel line first.
And because memory is that ultimate bottleneck, we are seeing AI labs take unprecedented, almost shocking steps to secure it.
We really are.
Which leads us to the main story today, a brand new type of contract and a landmark partnership. On June 22, 2026, Micron and the AI company Anthropic signed a strategic agreement.
And this isn't just a basic purchase order.
No, not at all. It combines architecture design, hardware supply, and get this is the wild part to me, a strategic investment from Micron into Anthropic's Series H funding round.
Right, and for our listeners, a Series H round is a very late-stage, massive investment that usually happens right before a company goes public.
Wait, let me push back here. A hardware supplier is investing in an AI model company's Series H round. Why wouldn't Anthropic just buy memory off the shelf like companies always have?
Because off-the-shelf buying is completely dead for frontier AI. It's deeply integrated now. Anthropic's Tom Brown noted that memory is absolutely central to how efficiently they can train and serve their Claude model.
And this deal isn't happening in a vacuum, is it?
No. Simultaneously, just 2 days later, Micron announced they signed 16 strategic customer agreements, or SCAs.
Okay, and what's the timeline on those?
They run from calendar year 2026 all the way through 2030, but the automotive ones run for 3 years.
And the scale of these SCAs is just hard to wrap your head around. They cover roughly 20% of Micron's DRAM volume.
Which is the fast short-term working memory,
Right, and 33% of their NAND volume.
the long-term storage.
Yeah, for that entire multi-year period. Just 14 of those 16 agreements carry roughly $100 billion in cumulative revenue at a minimum price.
$100 billion. Let that sink in.
And they are backed by $22 billion in cash deposits. Wait, $22 billion in cash deposits just to hold a place in line?
Basically, yeah.
That sounds like desperation. Are these AI companies just panic buying because of all the industry hype, or is there an actual physical reason Micron can't just manufacture more memory?
It is absolutely a physical limitation. The sources make it clear that supply shortages are expected to remain extremely tight well beyond calendar year 2027.
So no relief anytime soon.
Right, with only gradual improvement starting in 2028. This is a structurally constrained supply. You have to remember, it takes roughly 4 years and tens of billions of dollars to build a new memory fabrication plant.
You can't just flip a switch and double production overnight.
Exactly. These fabs are already running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So because the supply is physically limited by manufacturing realities, these companies can no longer risk relying on the open market.
They can't take the chance that memory won't be available when they need it.
Precisely. So these new SCAs are structured as take-or-pay agreements. They involve strict binding commitments.
A take-or-pay agreement, meaning the customer legally agrees to take a specific amount of product, and if they suddenly decide they don't need it, they have to pay for it anyway.
There's no backing out. The financial risk has shifted entirely from the supplier to the buyer.
Wow.
The AI companies are so desperate for supply assurance that they are willing to lock in their budgets years in advance, handing over billions in cash today just to guarantee they will have the memory they need tomorrow.
That is fascinating. These massive cash deposits and dual investments prove a broader business lesson here. The competition for AI infrastructure has moved far beyond just who has the best chips and models.
It really has. The Micron Anthropic deal specifically involves analyzing memory subsystems across the full stack.
Right. They want to see how the hardware interacts with everything else to improve energy efficiency and what they call token economics.
Yes, token economics is a crucial mechanism to understand here. In AI, a token is basically a piece of a word. The computing and electrical cost to generate one single token determines the ultimate profitability of an AI company. By working directly with Micron, Anthropic is trying to lower the physical cost of generating every single token.
And independent media absolutely agrees with this shift. Tom's Hardware noted that these moves provide long-term supply visibility during an AI-driven shortage.
It confirms memory's new strategic value.
The key question for buyers is no longer who has the best component right now. Instead, the question is, who can guarantee performance and predictable scaling over the next 5 years?
Right.
This sounds more like an airline hedging jet fuel or a major city planning a power grid for the next decade. Does this mean AI infrastructure is becoming more like industrial energy capacity planning?
I think that is the perfect way to look at it. We are absolutely seeing a business model transformation. Tech companies are being forced to operate like industrial conglomerates now.
Because memory is no longer just a part you plug into a motherboard.
Exactly. It's now a core infrastructure layer.
Yeah.
Customers view access to memory as a strategic risk management problem. They require full-stack optimization.
Meaning they want the software, the processor, and the memory designed together from day one.
Yes. And they require long-term visibility to ensure they do not run out of contracted capacity midway through training a multi-billion-dollar AI model.
This is such a massive shift in how we understand the technology supply chain, and it introduces a whole new vocabulary for business leaders.
It really does.
So if you, our listener, are going to talk about this in your next strategy meeting or job interview, we need to make sure you are using these terms correctly. Let's step back and look at how we've been using this language.
Let's take it a bit slower here so everyone can follow along.
Perfect. I noticed you used a very specific phrase earlier. You said structurally constrained supply. If a supply chain is just constrained, that might just mean a cargo ship got stuck, right? But what does adding the word structurally do?
That is a vital distinction. If a supply chain is just constrained, it is usually a temporary glitch. But a structurally constrained supply means the limit is built into the physics and economics of the industry itself.
Like we discussed, you can't just build a factory overnight.
Exactly. So an example sentence might be, due to the lack of specialized factories, we are facing a structurally constrained supply of memory chips.
Got it. And because of that structural limit, companies need what we called supply assurance.
Yes, supply assurance is the absolute guarantee that a company will receive the materials it needs when it needs them without any interruption.
So I could say to my team, we signed a new 5-year contract to improve our supply assurance.
Perfect.
Now, to get that assurance, you mentioned they are signing a take-or-pay agreement. Is that a strict legal term?
It is. A take-or-pay agreement is a contract where the buyer must either accept the delivery of the goods or pay a massive penalty fee.
So you are locking yourself in.
Right. It is a form of binding commitment, which is a promise or contract that cannot be broken without severe legal and financial consequences.
For example, the natural gas company uses a take-or-pay agreement to guarantee their revenue. Or the CEO made a binding commitment to invest $10 million.
Exactly right.
Okay, so what is the ultimate business outcome of signing these strict contracts? We use the terms contracted capacity and long-term visibility.
Right. Contracted capacity is the specific amount of production that a supplier legally reserves for a buyer. It is your guaranteed slice of the pie.
Okay.
And long-term visibility means having a clear, reliable understanding of what will happen in your business environment several years into the future.
Let me try using those in a sentence.
Yeah.
We have enough contracted capacity in the factory to launch our new product on time.
Good.
And these 5-year contracts give our investors excellent long-term visibility.
That makes total sense. Now let's pivot to the technical drivers behind this. You explained token economics earlier as the cost to generate a word. Yes, token economics refers to the financial cost and efficiency of processing data in an AI model. To improve that efficiency, companies use full-stack optimization.
And that means improving every single layer of a computer system, from the physical hardware at the bottom to the software at the top, so they work perfectly together.
Precisely. So an engineer might say, improving our server speed will directly improve our token economics.
Or we achieved better energy efficiency through full-stack optimization.
Exactly. And they have to do this because of the performance bottleneck, right? The coffee straw in our engine analogy.
Yeah.
A performance bottleneck is a specific point in a system that slows down the overall speed.
Like saying upgrading the network cables eliminated our main performance bottleneck.
Spot on. Which brings us to the big picture terms: infrastructure layer and business model transformation. An infrastructure layer refers to the foundational systems that allow everything else to operate.
Memory is no longer just a component, it is the foundation.
Right. And a business model transformation is a fundamental change in how a company creates, delivers, and captures value.
So cloud computing has become the basic infrastructure layer for modern software. And moving from selling software in boxes to selling monthly subscriptions was a massive business model transformation.
Perfect examples. And finally, you called memory a strategic asset. A strategic asset is a resource that is highly valuable, essential for long-term success, and not easily replaced.
Data is our company's most important strategic asset.
Exactly. Mastering these 12 terms really gives you the tools to articulate exactly how the AI industry is evolving, whether you're analyzing a stock, talking to your boss, or just reading the news.
Absolutely. The language you use shapes how well you understand the strategy. So as we wrap up today's deep dive into the Micron and Anthropic announcements, let's distill everything down into 3 memorable, actionable takeaways based on the source material. What is takeaway number 1?
Takeaway number 1 is that memory is the new control layer. It is no longer a simple line item on a budget spreadsheet. The speed and capacity of memory directly dictate AI system performance, which means it fundamentally controls the profitability, the token economics of the AI models themselves.
Got it. Takeaway number 2 is the rise of the mega contract. We are seeing a historic shift in purchasing behavior. With $100 billion locked up in 5-year take-or-pay agreements, the AI supply chain is clearly prioritizing risk management and supply assurance over the old method of flexible, cheaper purchasing. Companies are basically acting like industrial energy planners now.
They really are. And takeaway number 3 is that these new partnerships are blurring traditional industry lines. The Micron Anthropic deal shows us that the future of AI infrastructure requires much more than just a buyer and a seller.
Right.
It requires combining hardware co-design, secured multi-year supply, and direct capital investment to actually succeed.
It really is a fascinating shift from a simple component market into a highly complex, deeply integrated infrastructure partnership.
It is a critical time to watch how these supply chains evolve.
Thank you so much for tuning us for this deep dive. We will leave you with this final thought to explore on your own. As these massive mega contracts lock up physical resources years in advance, the barriers to entry for new AI startups are getting higher and higher every single day. If you don't have billions in cash today, you might not have memory tomorrow.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll see you next time. But before you go, which upstream AI constraint do you think will matter most over the next 3 years? Compute, memory, power, networking, or contracts?